Hello. Today I'll be talking about my experience with Reiki, both as a practitioner and as a recipient of Reiki healing. I am relatively new to this space, but I've really spent the last couple of months exploring this, both by way of practicing Reiki on friends and family, and also by allowing myself to receive Reiki, because I am so curious about people's experiences and then also how Reiki would affect me and how I would experience it. So I guess I'll start off with what Reiki is. And if you're watching this video, you're probably curious and have already started your research on Reiki, but in general, it is an energy healing practice that has its roots in Japan. And through Reiki, the practitioner channels universal life force healing to allow that healing energy to flow through their client or whoever they're practicing on, however you want to call it. And when you think about it, if we're all energy, right, and we think about where our source is, then that means there's a place that we could tap into for recalibration, healing, movement of energy. And that's how I think of Reiki. And as a practitioner, I look at myself as a door opener. So when I've described it to friends and family that I've practiced on, I say, I'm not doing any of the healing, but what I am doing is I'm opening a door, and your body and you are intelligent. You are moving towards the door, and the energy is also moving towards the door, and you're meeting each other to allow the healing to happen. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm sure there's a lot more detail that I could go into, but just keeping it high level for now. Again, an energy healing practice where the Reiki practitioner really acts as a facilitator, but it is the universal life force energy meeting with a person that is open to receiving, that allows for the movement of energy and healing to happen. So when I first got attuned to Reiki, I have to tell you, I didn't feel anything as a practitioner, but what has helped me in my practice is, one, in addition to taking a few deep breaths before I engage in the Reiki practice, I also just practice gratitude. And I think of several things that I'm grateful for, whether it's the sun touching my face or having a wonderful breakfast that morning. Really anything from very small things like what I just mentioned to big things like going on a vacation to Hawaii for a friend's wedding and having a great time. So the gratitude has really helped me. And it's funny because I'm reading a book. I wish I had the title at hand, but I think The Soul is the Source of Your Power. That's the book. And it's written by a psychic medium, and he talks about how gratitude elevates your frequency and vibration. It's bringing essentially joy to you, right? Because you're really digging into what makes you feel happy, what you're grateful for. And so again, gratitude has, practicing gratitude and thinking about what I'm very thankful for has helped me before engaging in a Reiki session with somebody. And then the second thing is Qigong. Qigong is, I would call it a practice that involves movement, mindfulness, and just the flow of that movement and mindfulness together. I've been watching YouTube videos of very simple Qigong practices, and I actually stumbled upon Qigong when I was searching Tai Chi. So if you're familiar with Tai Chi, Qigong is similar in that it involves movement, and there's a sort of flow with that movement. But the purpose of Qigong is to get in touch with your Qi, so energy, and for healing and wellness. So it kind of makes sense that by practicing Qigong, which focuses on getting in tune with the energy in your body, that it's helped me with Reiki, which is where I'm helping to facilitate the movement of energy through the universal life force source. It just happened by chance. I just felt really pulled to Qigong. I think because I was trying to find movement that helped me feel grounded, and I knew I didn't really enjoy yoga or anything like that. So I was like, oh, maybe something that feels a little bit more like dancing. So I looked up Tai Chi, and then again stumbled upon Qigong. So definitely check that out. Maybe it's something that you will enjoy. I really actually just enjoy it. It just feels good in my body and feels really natural. And yes, I noticed that when I started practicing Qigong more regularly, when I practiced Reiki, I started to feel the tingling in my hands. So I think that sort of leads me to the next part of this, which is like, what do I even experience when I practice Reiki on somebody? And what's consistent in every session that I've had so far is the tingling in my hands. Like, I really feel the energy moving through my hands, but I know not everybody feels it that way. In very few cases, I think just maybe 2 or 3 times, I've actually felt heat, which was interesting because when I had the weekend of learning for that Reiki attunement, somebody else in the class, like, clearly her way of like feeling the energy was through heat, and you could feel it as a recipient. So that's only happened to me a handful of times. But it's interesting, right? Because every single time I practice Reiki, it's different, just depending on who I'm practicing on. Sometimes when I do Reiki, I also get thoughts or images that run through my mind. So for example, I was practicing Reiki on my husband, and I saw a black wildcat just appear in my vision. And by the way, when I practice Reiki, I have my eyes closed. So an image of a black wildcat with green eyes appeared. And I want so much to engage in more than just healing, be able to share specific messages. But when I do Reiki, I typically just focus on the healing. That's what I'm there for. I'm not quite there yet when it comes to the different clairs, if you will. But it just, the image just appeared, and I'm still trying to figure out what that means. When I've Googled it, like, Black Panther has come up. But anyway, I digress. Every once in a while, again, that's just an example of an image coming up. And sometimes I just get thoughts or words. Like, another example is when I did Reiki on my sister, and I just told her, oh, I don't know, I was just feeling like these like set of words, like love, protection, peace, common inner knowing. And what's interesting is she was like, oh, okay, nothing really stuck out to her at that point in time. But she told me about a week or 2 later, she was talking to her wife, and she was like, oh, protection really stood out to me. And having a conversation with her wife, she realized that there was a specific aspect of her life where protection was relevant, and she kind of connected the dots on her own. So it's interesting. I think because I've really been practicing only on family and close friends, I haven't been shy about sharing what comes to my mind, because there's no specific expectation. I'm not claiming myself to be really in tune with, any psychic ability at this point in time. But I just feel like if it's something that's coming through, I may as well share it. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, they're always welcome to leave it, which they know. So that's been my experience so far as a practitioner. It's always been different from person to person, but always have experienced the tingling in my hands. And I've asked people, well, what did you feel during that session? And most people have felt just like really relaxed, have often fallen asleep. When I practiced on my mom, she said she felt like somebody was blowing in her face, and it happened like throughout the session, but not consistently. So I just thought that was interesting. For my sister, she felt heat on her head, which I actually felt as well. And then for others, really nothing. Maybe just relaxation, but nothing specific outside of that. But But of course, for me, I also wanted to experience Reiki. So I've had Reiki done on me in person and also have experienced distance Reiki. And for me, I noticed that it helps me get into like what feels like a deep meditation. So in the past, when I have practiced meditation consistently, like I've gotten into this like really peaceful and calm state. I haven't practiced meditation consistently in a while, but doing Reiki or having Reiki done on me has helped me experience that again, and even self Reiki. So practicing Reiki on myself has allowed me to achieve what I've achieved in the past through a deep and consistent meditation practice. So it's been really cool in that regard. And I actually got the idea because when I practiced Reiki on a family member, she's the one who told me, oh my goodness, I haven't meditated in so long, but I just got to that place straight away. And she was imagining like lights and angels surrounding her during that Reiki session that I was having with her. So I thought that was really interesting. And I thought, oh, wow, that's probably something that I could possibly experience. So I've experienced what feels like a deep meditative state. I also have, unfortunately, had consistent nights where I just wake up in the middle of the night and then I realized, wait a minute, I could practice self Reiki. And one of the times that I did that, I guess it was just the right amount of consciousness that I was in, I felt myself in this very powerful and vibratory state. Like I could feel the essence of me vibrating in my body. And I've never consciously astral projected, but it felt like that's what I was about to do, but I was scared and I didn't let myself get to that point. But I've done research on Reiki, but then I've also tried not to do too much because I also just want to explore it for myself without any expectation. And when I looked it up, it's a thing. Like Reiki can assist with someone who's trying to explore astral projection. So I thought that was really interesting. And then also I noticed that after a Reiki session, I had this feeling of what I described to my husband as feeling high. But when I really dissected that, I think what I really meant is that I felt ultra present in a way that I really experienced my sensations, like feeling, seeing, being. Like I just felt really here, which I think some people can, I actually have felt that way in everyday life, unprompted. And I think it's just coming to the realization that, oh my goodness, when I'm present, it sort of mimics the feeling of being high, like a weed high, because I know there are different types of highs. But it mimics that experience, and Reiki has allowed me to feel that too. So it's really interesting for me. And again, I looked that up also, and it is sort of a thing, I guess, because, Reiki promotes deep relaxation and healing. So if it allows you to ground and be in the moment and feel good, you could perceive that as like being high. And then also with Reiki, I noticed that, I think it's because I came in with an intention. When it comes to Reiki, I think people have to remember, one, the Reiki practitioner should ask for permission, and then two, the recipient can also play a role by setting an intention. And for me, I think I'm ready to tackle things that I've been hiding from. And, when I had an in-person Reiki session with actually somebody who went through the Reiki training and attunement with me, after that, I felt good immediately, right? I felt relaxed. I felt like a little buzz around me. But the day after and the weeks to follow, I sort of started tackling this, my challenging relationship with sugar and food. That's a whole nother story. But I think because I went into that session with an openness and readiness to face things that I've been avoiding, that was the outcome of it. So I would just say also, in addition to being open-minded, you could also kind of steer the direction for yourself by setting an intention for what you want to focus on or what you're open to focusing on. And I think that kind of makes your experience more interesting and more powerful for yourself. And then lastly, well, actually, I have two more things that I want to share in terms of practicing Reiki. I actually practiced distance Reiki on my sister's dog. My sister's dog has a lot of anxiety, and she gave me permission to go ahead and practice Reiki on her. And I let her know, hey, I texted her in the morning, like at 3 a.m., I practiced Reiki on her, and, you know, just see how she is. Hopefully she could drink some extra water during the day if she needs it. And then my sister's wife apparently had a very vivid dream about her dog that night, and she never dreams about her dogs. But I think it's really interesting because I know that my sister's wife and the dog are very connected. Could be a coincidence. A lot of these things could be coincidence, right? But I'm just sharing the experience. And then the other thing that I've used Reiki for is my son. I have a 3-year-old, and he's been sick maybe 2 or 3 times this past winter season. And when he was home with me, he would refuse to drink water. He's a milk guy all the way, although that's starting to transition out, thank goodness. But I practiced Reiki on him when he wasn't feeling well. And I noticed that when I practiced Reiki, that's when he would ask for water. So I just thought that was interesting. Again, could be total coincidence, but after I would practice Reiki, it's like his body knew and couldn't deny it anymore that he needed to drink water. And it also helped relax him so that he could take a daytime nap, because he was really fighting it, but he really needed to sleep because his body needed the rest. And I think the Reiki helped with that. Again, not 100% sure, but it just happened each time I did the Reiki. It could just be that I did it right before he was that sleepy. But it's been an interesting experience so far. Again, relatively new to the space. I got attuned to Reiki at the end of November 2025. And yeah, it's just been so interesting. I love sharing it with other people who are open to it, because I think it can be really helpful and almost like an eye-opener for other aspects of, one's spiritual journey. So hopefully this video helped you in some sort of way. If you're interested in Reiki, whether you want to receive it or you want to become a Reiki practitioner, again, this is just like one aspect of my very vast interest in spirituality. But it's certainly been a learning journey, and I'm still on it, and would love to hear for anybody who's watching what your experience has been like, and if you have any questions. I'm also, if you want to connect with me, would love to practice Reiki. I do distance Reiki all the time. Most of my family and friends are in different states. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.